The holiday season is usually a happy time with lots of cards and gifts. But in December of 1989, something horrible happened to a well-respected person in Alabama. Judge Robert Vance, who was important in his community, received the package. It looked normal, like any other gift you might receive during the festive season. But inside, hidden among the holiday cards and gifts, was a bomb meant to cause destruction. This explosion was not just a burst of metal and fire. It was an attack on the legal system that Judge Vance had dedicated his life to. The impact of this terrible act was felt all over the country. People realized that even those who work to maintain justice can be targets of terrible violence. Although such attacks on judges aren't common, when they happen, they make people feel less secure, and this is not good for our legal system and democracy. We will dissect the case of Judge Vance, the investigation that unfolded, and the relentless pursuit of the individual responsible for this act of terror. We would like to send our condolences to the family and loved ones of Judge Robert Vance. Judge Robert Vance was born on May 10, 1931, in Talladega, Alabama. He was the youngest of 4 children born to Harold Taylor Vance Sr. and Mae Vance. After a short while, his family moved to Birmingham, and he finished high school at Woodlawn High School. After getting a Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Alabama in 1950 and a Juris Doctor degree from the University of Alabama School of Law in 1952, Vance embarked on a remarkable legal career. Beyond his legal prowess, Vance demonstrated leadership as the president of the Student Government Association and was associated with a powerful fraternity group called the Machine during his time at the University of Alabama. He would serve in the United States Army in a group called the Judge Advocate General Corps. He would be part of the legal effort to defend the Army against Senator Joseph McCarthy's claims that communists were implanted throughout the federal government. Vance would then go on to earn a Master's of Laws from George Washington University Law School in 1955. His journey continued with a stint as a law clerk for the Alabama Supreme Court Justice James Mayfield, followed by a year at the United States Labor Department. In 1956, Vance ventured into private practice, laying the foundation for his eventual appointment to the United States Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit by President Jimmy Carter in 1977. However, tragedy was about to strike when a package arrived at Vance's residence in 1989. As Judge Vance slowly untied the string, the explosive device within it propelled him across the room, claiming his life instantly. His wife, Helen, survived, but suffered severe injuries, including a nail piercing her liver. A few days later, another bomb was discovered at an Atlanta courthouse during a routine X-ray scan. The ATF investigators determined that the 2 bombs were linked, carefully crafted, and coated with black paint to conceal fingerprints. The horrific similarity to a tear gas bomb that detonated months earlier at an NAACP office in Atlanta raised concerns. A letter following the tear gas bomb spoke grievances about the perceived unfairness at the 11th Circuit Court, suggesting a deeper motive behind the attacks. Letters, dispatched to various federal judges, civil rights groups, and news organizations, revealed a disturbing motive. The individual behind the bombings claimed to be targeting NAACP officers in retaliation for a case involving the rape and murder of preschool teacher Julie Love. According to the bomber, the group labeled Americans for a Competent Federal Judicial System would retaliate whenever a black man committed a crime against a white woman in the states of Alabama, Florida, or Georgia. Approximately 30 threatening letters heightened the fear across the 11 district areas, leading to heightened security measures. The typewriter used by the bomber to write these letters became a crucial clue, with the FBI noting a replaced number 1 key that stood out in each sentence as not being in line with the rest of the text. A relentless pursuit to find the typewriter led to a mistaken harassment of an innocent junk dealer, highlighting the challenges faced during the investigation. The breakthrough in the case came from Lloyd Irwin, an ATF chemist who recalled a bomb incident from 17 years earlier. In 1972, a man by the name of Walter Leroy Moody had carefully crafted a bomb. Unfortunately, his wife Hazel discovered the bomb in their home. Not knowing what it was, she took a closer look, which caused it to detonate, leading to severe injuries. This incident provided a terrifying link to Moody's past, exposing a pattern of bomb making and threats of violence that spanned decades. Moody's complex persona, marked by charm and loner tendencies, underwent scrutiny. Descriptions from media outlets portrayed him as an obsessive and manipulative individual capable of convincing others to believe almost anything. Despite a period of successful service in the Army and Air Force, Moody's encounters with the legal system, including a conviction for the 1972 bombing, revealed a darker side. Moody's life took a dark turn after the 1972 bombing incident in his residence. Despite vehemently denying the charges, he was convicted for creating and possessing a bomb that harmed his wife. The sentencing, delivered by none other than Judge Robert Vance Sr., placed Moody behind bars for 6 years. Behind bars, Moody dedicated the late 1970s and early 1980s to overturning his conviction. Engaging in bitter disputes with the 11th District Court, he relentlessly pursued the annulment of his charges, but faced continuous setbacks. In a desperate plea for assistance, he even wrote to President George H.W. Bush, only to receive no response. Moody's legal woes didn't end there. In 1983, he faced trial for assaulting 3 former employees. The jury, unable to reach a decision, witnessed prosecutors choosing not to pursue a retrial. Undeterred, Moody filed lawsuits against the individuals involved, including Judge Vance, only to face a dismissal of the case. Fast forward to 1989, and Moody, a free man by now, emerged as the prime suspect in the deadly bombing attacks that terrorized the 11th District. A bitter resentment seemed to have festered within him over the accusation of constructing a bomb that harmed his wife in 1972. The question remained, were these bombings driven by a personal vendetta or racial motivations as asserted by Moody in his letters? As investigators closed in on Moody, a diligent search of 3 locations uncovered a disturbing store of bomb-making materials. Moody's impeccably antiseptic tidy house in Rex, an apartment in Chambly, and an airplane hangar he had access to contained a suspiciously large number of common bomb-making materials. Among the findings, investigators discovered a letter folding machine, a crucial piece in crafting the bomb letters perfectly. This revelation offered a horrifying insight into the calculated nature of Moody's attacks. On July 13, 1990, authorities finally apprehended Moody. His appearance, marked by the remnants of the Rust-Oleum on his mop top, hinted at a man attempting to disguise his involvement in the crimes. What ultimately led to Moody's downfall was information from an unexpected source: his second wife, Susan McBride Moody. Aged 28, Susan was arrested alongside her husband, but secured release on bail. Her testimony during the federal trial in 1991 provided crucial insights into Moody's dark activities. During the federal trial in 1991, which took place in Minnesota with a jury, Susan provided testimony about the couple's peculiar shopping expeditions. During these trips, he would instruct her to fill a cart with items like metal pipes, nails, safety glasses, gloves, and shower caps. Moody believed that no one would suspect anything from the seemingly innocent Susan. Authorities suspected that Moody, adopting a surgeon-like approach, equipped himself similarly to prevent leaving behind evidence. Susan, purportedly experiencing battered woman syndrome, testified that she had acquired a second-hand typewriter from Moody, similar to the one used for the threatening letters. The typewriter was subsequently discarded and never located. The prosecution, led by future FBI Director Louis Freeh, had an arsenal of evidence against Moody. A fingerprint on one of the bomb letters was traced back to an employee at a copy shop in Kentucky, the same shop where Susan claimed to have photocopied documents related to the bombings. Moody, despite presenting a series of bombings in 1989 as racially motivated, claimed it was a ruse to mislead investigators. He attributed the exploding packages to the Ku Klux Klan, a strategic move to divert attention from his primary source of resentment, Judge Robert Vance. Against his lawyer's counsel, Moody took the stand as the sole defense witness. His testimony, described as rambling and sometimes bizarre, included interspersed details about his sex life. Moody attempted to shift blame for the shopping trips for bomb components, claiming he had been deceived into purchasing them for someone else. On June 28, 1991, the jury delivered a verdict, finding Moody guilty of 70 charges. These charges contained the murder of Vance, mailing threats to Vance's colleagues, and sending threats to local journalists. However, Moody's second murder victim, Robert Robertson, was a local official rather than a federal one. His case fell under state jurisdiction. Moody's initial disrupted behavior in court suddenly changed into a quieter demeanor as the trial progressed. The weight of the charges against him seemed to sink in. In 1997, Moody was sentenced to death by electric chair. By then, Susan had divorced him, and the 4 children he had over the years distanced themselves from him. Despite maintaining his innocence, he initiated a series of appeals, claiming a government conspiracy had framed him. His lawyers appealed to the Supreme Court, arguing that the federal court had no right to transfer him to Alabama, where the execution was scheduled. Moody's lawyers attempted to persuade Alabama's governor to grant him clemency. They cited Judge Vance's opposition to capital punishment, subtly appealing to shared values. Moody even reached out to Robert Vance Jr., the murdered judge's son, claiming to know the real killer of his father. However, these attempts were met with resolute rejection. Despite boasting an IQ of 130, Moody couldn't employ the last resort defense of being mentally challenged to avoid execution. By April 19, 2018, at the age of 83, Walter Leroy Moody had exhausted his legal options. The day of reckoning had arrived. He chose not to order a last meal, in contrast to his previous preferences for cheesesteak sandwiches and Dr. Peppers during his time at William C. Holman Correctional Facility. He declined to make any last statements. Alabama, a state that offers death row inmates a choice between lethal injection and electric chair, saw Moody choose the needle. News outlets worldwide covered the execution of the oldest inmate in modern times. The feelings of Robert Robertson's family regarding witnessing the event were unclear, and Robert Vance Jr., now a judge himself, chose not to attend. Helen Vance, who opposed the death penalty, but admitted she wasn't too sorry to see her husband's assassin leave this world, also did not attend. This case went on to become the largest case in FBI history, and an important one. Judge Vance's story is a powerful reminder of the dangers our public servants face. It's a call to stay watchful against threats aiming to weaken our legal system. But it's also a story of strength, showing that our system, though shaken, stands strong in tough times, honoring figures like Judge Vance by persisting in the pursuit of justice. Judge Vance's loss isn't just felt by his loved ones. It touches every citizen who trusts in the safety and integrity of our justice system. If this story resonated with you and made you think about how delicate justice can be and how brave those defending it are, please take a moment to like this video. And if you want to join us on this journey through true crime, exploring cases that challenge, terrify, and ultimately reveal the truth behind every case, hit the subscribe button. Each story we share is an opportunity to learn, remember, and pay tribute to those affected by these tragic events. Thank you for being part of today's video.